Welcome back. Even as we've moved through our discussion of the continued meaning and relevance of the Second Vatican Council for contemporary Catholics, it could be easy to think of the Council's proceedings as far away in Rome. How could something that took place in a foreign country so long ago have any importance for me? The Council's vision of renewal had a far-reaching impact in the Church all the way down to the local parish level. Each national church took the Council's vision and implemented it in a way particular to their culture, society, and willingness to adapt. That's true here in the United States as well. The way the Council's reforms were received and put into practice differed by diocese. In this episode, we'll be speaking with someone who was present and active in St. Leo's as the changes brought by the Council were being rolled out. What he has to say is both interesting and challenging to how we may perceive what it means to be a parish. Welcome back, everybody, to our conversation about the Second Vatican Council. Good to have you all back with us. Today we have with us one of the members of our own parish, Deacon Bob Nyman. Deacon Bob and his family became parishioners at St. Leo the Great in 1965. So shortly after, just as the Second Vatican Council was wrapping up its deliberations and starting to issue many of the documents that we're going to be discussing in this program. Deacon Bob was part of a young family that had moved into the parish and can give us, I hope, a little bit of perspective about as the Second Vatican Council began to take root in the church, both worldwide and here in the United States, what it was like at St. Leo's, what kind of impact the changes had in the way things were being done at St. Leo's as a whole, and particularly on him and his family, and how it may have influenced their spiritual life. So welcome, Deacon Bob. I thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this project. We're really glad to have you and the perspective that you can offer us. So let's dive right in, okay? As I said, you were an adult with a family while the Second Vatican Council was taking place. You, of course, remember what it was like to be Catholic before the Council, having Mass in Latin and all of that kind of stuff. History tells us that while the Council was going on, there was great excitement. There was great excitement in the church around the start of the Council. Can you tell us a little bit what you remember, what the atmosphere was like among lay Catholics at the time? Did people really understand what was happening in Rome back in that early part of the 1960s?
I don't think they did, and I'm not too sure they needed to know what was going on in Rome. I think just getting the information that was being planned for the church generated this thought about it, because when you think about it, most of us that were here were young. I mean, the parish, this was a growing area at the time. People mostly from North Jersey, some from the New York area came in. We came from all different parishes that had different backgrounds. At that time, we said the Mass in Latin, but don't forget, many of us came from churches a la St. Anthony in Red Bank. Their masses were in Italian. Latin was part that had to be according to the church, but then the pastors, associates in the Mass themselves, the homilies, were some foreign language, and a guy like me would sit there and it's like turning on channel 6 here, and all of a sudden you're not at the right channel because of the vernacular. But it was an exciting time in our parish because we were brand new. And I don't know about the dates, I'm not going to dwell on it, but I don't know exactly the date, but we were here when the church started, which was before Vatican II. So, we were in the planning process of the parish, and then getting hit right at basically the planning of Vatican II at the same time. So where do you devote your attention to? Which is top priority? So it was exciting times, and it was tough times because we didn't have the buildings we needed. We didn't have the people, the leadership roles probably that we needed at the time. As far as Vatican II is concerned, the pastor at the time was what I guess is called a traditionalist, and he found it very difficult to accept the changes that were taking place. I guess the good news, which we overlooked because we were too busy being upset with him and not, giving us a positive, let's go get him and thing, is that when a directive came out from the church that said, I'll just take one. I want all the altar railings removed. He didn't say, well, when I get my time to it, he did it. He did it. He did what that was asked of the churches, but he didn't have the spirit. And that was the tough part for us here at St. Leo's because we were young and go get them and put a new building up for our parish, but at the same time, make sure we don't have an altar around or that the altar is down at a priest faces the people. It was difficult. And one thing I came at the end of this, Mark, is that we the people today, it's the parish today, maybe someday should really sit down and say thank you for all you people back there when it all started. But I don't think they realize what we went through, change. I can remember, here I am now, see, I'm talking, you're going to be here for days.
That's
But
okay.
I can remember I worked for the belt system. And for those who don't know, the belt system at one time in the past was broken up. It was no longer just AT&T New Jersey Bell. And I remember going to meetings concerning that, and they had psychologists there, the law, and they all were saying, making change is the most difficult thing in one's life. And they talked about small changes, but they also talked about changes that affected our livelihood or our faith as the Vatican II did, and how much the toll it takes on people to make all those decisions. And I thought, here we were trying to do it, and we had a pastor who wasn't giving us the cheerleader. Let's go get him, and well, how can we do it? Can we do more or better or different? He would say, we're doing it. And I'll give you a little example because I can remember the day I stopped in the rectory and asked him to sign a peace. It always stuck out of me that I asked him, I said, Father, why don't you hesitate after to sign a peace? Because he did not have pause to allow for the sign of peace because he didn't buy into it. I mean, at the Mass, he'd say, and let us offer each other a sign of peace, Lamb of God. You take away, you could, and he said his problem with that was he saw people kissing each other out there in church, and he felt that the kiss of peace. Well, that's not the important part of the sign of peace, and things like that kept him in that traditionalist mode.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want to come out and say anything against it, to people about it because he knew and felt from people talking to him that they didn't agree with him, make the changes or not. So it was tough. It was very difficult I could see and I knew some other priests around having been in Holy Name. And our church did pretty well, as much as we didn't think we were at the time. But we moved along, and some in here we talk about, what do you think about it now? Well, I think, we didn't do everything right at the right time, but most of the time we did what was needed. And that's why this parish is so strong. This parish has gone through a lot. I mean, if you look at it, pastors dying, pastors ill, growth periods, the school bouncing in there. Now you got that. This parish is really done a marvelous job in parish life, despite all of us. We all tried. It was an exciting time. We talked a lot about it, and despite that, we grew. We added nuns. Vatican II, the impact on the school system with the nuns, Sisters of St. Francis, many of them left because they were allowed to do that. We found it wasn't bad for vacation then, but it was a blip in the scale. Now, what do we do now? The school is growing so great. I mean, we're doing so well. And the lay teachers, it was good for Vatican II to help us. That was very important at that time. We do accept as the parishioners, not to think that the school would succeed if we don't have nuns there. And that's why I say the strength of this parish at Vatican II. Vatican II is wonderful. And it jumped to another part of some of your questioning there was, how do you think about it today? Well, unfortunately, you don't think about Vatican II today. If something particularly comes up like this, now talking about it, about this project, whatever you're going into, we're starting to talk about it. And I went back and did some reading on it. I forgot that, and I remember this, and how difficult it was, and how our parish was standing out at that time, and we stand out today as one of the strong, faithful, following of Christ's teachings in this county. I've been blessed in my life, by the way, Mark. I started out here really in my faith at St. Leo's, although I went to St. James when we first moved out. And then in Florida, I was in another beautiful parish. And faith is so important in everybody's life. We have had our share of, in our family, our share of tough times. But you know what? If it wasn't from those beginning years of sitting around talking about our faith in Vatican II, if we didn't have that faith, I thank all the priests and the nuns and the brothers that influenced us. We had a great, capacity of people to go to in our faith growth in this parish. We were so lucky and fortunate at that time.
Let me just ask you about that a little bit. You talk about the strength of the parish, which is evident. You talk about the excitement in the parish and among the community. What kind of things happened in the parish maybe as a result of Vatican II that may not have happened before, that involved lay people more directly in the life of the parish beyond attending Sunday Mass? I remember from my youth, my parents used to have a prayer group that met at our house once a week. What kinds of opportunities came out of the opening that Vatican II provided to the community that may not have been available had Vatican II not happened?
Well, I would say that I think I might be right in this. We did start out at the beginning, and that was probably a plus for having a pastor that had been around for a while and maybe did not agree with all the teachings. He did know that he needed help, and he started an Altar Rosary and the Holy Name Society right after that. And we used to meet in what is now the convent, the basement of the convent. That was the only place we could meet, get together. But we did have an opportunity, and we took advantage of it. I'm talking about we, the parishioners, to expand on that. And just to let them know, I can remember the pastor saying, all I hear from everybody is, you want a school, you want a school, you want a school. And of course, everybody said, yes, we do want a school for our children. And he said, we can't afford a school right now with the salaries of the teachers and everything else. He said, but if you'll support the money we need to get started, I'll get us nuns. And so we said, yes, we'll support you. And we did, and he did, and went out, and he got nuns for staff our school, which was a tremendous beginning for us. not just the financial end, but the enthusiasm and their teaching and their love for us. And for someone like me who went to public schools all my life, it was difficult talking to the nuns and not really getting mad at them as you could in the public school. But that was part of our growth. We wanted it so bad. All of a sudden, the Holy Name Society was booming. We were doing things. We were having breakfast to encourage people to come to the sacraments more than they were doing, because it seemed like some of the reconciliation, you didn't always have a space or something to do with it. So you'd meet everybody at St. Anthony or St. James going to do the sacrament of reconciliation, because we weren't there, but we did it. And we did it because we wanted to, and we formed our own. We were not cliquish, but we knew each other. Like I was a member of the local fire company, and it was amazing how the people who lived there, non-Catholic, viewed the Catholics coming in there. We were like a threat to some of them. But we used that time at the fire company to help with our faith, and the discussion was probably as much about what book should we have in the pews or this or that, as well as how much hose do we need on the trucks, because the faith was so important to us. That's it's hard to explain that attitude, I guess, but the people that came, those 300 families that came here to start this parish, wanted it. They really wanted it, and they committed to do it, and the Holy Spirit was with us. We had various latitudes of knowledge of our faith. We all came from North Jersey, but I came from this town, which was, everybody was poor, struggling. Somebody came from the town that was, maybe we might look at, say, a run stream, a spring lake. I just, boy, that was something so different. But despite our differences, the Spirit moved us in the right places to meet people. I talked about it a lot with some of the guys that are still here. How we would be running a horse show for the fire company, and we'd be out on the field working the horse show, but we'd be talking about St. Leo's, what we should be doing. We had that call, and the call was to start this parish. And on top of that, hey, they're going to change a lot of that parish was not because the Vatican II Council had it. It didn't stop us. It didn't stop us. In fact, it helped us quite a bit. And ultimately, those of us who wanted it a little more, others started to take into that leadership role, question and asking, what do we do? Why don't we do this? Or why do we do it? Or listen, at work, I heard that people that why can't we do that? We were very active in that, because it's a commuting parish today. But we were all traveling someplace, on the train, on the bus, or whatever. The few worked around except the port. But in those environments of work, there was a lot of discussion about Vatican II, and we brought that back to St. Leo's to help in our growth. And Vatican II was good. Now that I've gone back and looked at this, I'm sorry that we stopped thinking about it and talking about it, because there are many, many things. Francis is bringing a little bit more to the what changes can we make? What can we do? And I think we need that. We need it locally, that we can make it. You and I, as parishioners, you understand. There are things we can do locally, not that big as Vatican II. But together in the church, I would look forward to another discussion on the church and another council meeting. Look at us now. Could we ever talk like this?
No.
I can remember trying to call people, and we had what were they, rural phone service down here where you had party lines. Well, I tried to catch you, but your line was always busy. Those were the excuses we made, right or wrong. But we had reconciliation to take care of that.
So do you think that the council, 60 years after it happened, and without a lot of, as you said, we don't think about it much anymore, and you had to go back and look at some of the documents. Do you think it still has meaning for the church today in the 21st century to a parish community that's, that's changing? The population is changing. New people are coming in. The people of your generation have, the numbers are getting smaller there for all kinds of reasons. Does it still have meaning? And what, as someone who lived through the early days of Vatican II in the parish, what would you say to the younger parishioners, people in my generation and younger than me, about the importance of Vatican II for today's church?
I say one word. Always think about everything we do. Communicate. We've got to communicate with each other. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Your opinion, my opinion, your thoughts, my thoughts. That's what makes it go. That keeps it all going. You know yourself over your years, I'm sure, that if something was going on in business, the church, or your home life, and you were not aware of everything, you kind of, why not? Why I want to be part of? We don't communicate. Oh, I thought I told you, and stuff like that. I think if we kept communicating about the church, maybe we wouldn't have so many people leaving the church. Maybe we should have been talking more about the Eucharist and bringing it to them instead of hiding it in the tabernacle. There was a period of time when people in the church, in fact, I can remember a priest who came to St. Leo's to move the tabernacles out of the church and put it in another building. It was just, that was one of the things. And fortunately, a number of people were stopped that at our parish, but it wasn't stopped at all parishes. And if you're taking one of the keys of your faith, the Eucharist, away from people, so things like that were done because there wasn't enough involvement. It was like, okay, we did Vatican II, we know what we have to do. Let's go. That's not important. Well, it is important, and it was important. So I think we missed the boat and we stopped talking about it, stopped having meetings about it. Vatican II, and I forget all the makeup of it, but it wasn't those who originally started it. They had many commissions, I think they were called, that really did the work behind the scenes to put everything together. And I think they should have kept those. And if they did, they weren't as active as I can remember. You can't let faith just sit by the wayside. We've been told this in all our teachings in the church. The devil, who people don't even know what that means sometimes today, but he kind of just sits there and waits for us to just sit back. Oh, we're okay. Bang. He wants to get us into our faith. But I think Vatican II was good for us. I think it helped us build our parish at the same time. I know many times now when I started to think about this again, I said, little did I know what we were doing in the basement there by the furnace. It kept our parish going, and today it's the home for so many wonderful people. I always remember you heard about changes in how you can be positive. When Father St. Laurent died and Father Rosa became the pastor, he did some very simple things that were right there in front of us. Okay, put an elevator in. I mean, how we used to, if you want to get married or you want to get buried, you had to go through the school to come up into the church. On the side, there was no main entrance. And all of a sudden, and then we had the convent, which was dwindling down from maybe 20, 30 nuns at a time to maybe 8 or 10. Let's use this for an office, the parish center. Look at that building today. God, that was such a wonderful thing. Things can get done. They have to get done. But if we just don't talk about them, and like you forget another Vatican Council. The church needs us. They need why. Why do we have to do it? Just we're being taught today in society. Look at today, working at home. That's doing the people.
Mm-hmm.
And who is champions for the church? Most of those people out there, you don't need the church. You can't go like that, get together. But Congress sits together. And nothing wrong with that. We got fights on our end. There's challenges out there for us.
There, the only thing we didn't talk about really was, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, was the renewal of the Order of Deacons that came out of the Second Vatican Council. And Father Bonsack inviting you within that spirit to consider the diaconate yourself. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that while we've got it in the last couple of minutes that we have? How your experience of church in the context of this parish and Vatican II influenced your prayer and your decision and your discernment to enter the diaconate.
Well, I mean, to help me with my decision first with my family, I went to them, and they, of course, before even all that, I want to say people who knew Father Bonsack and some of the other priests we've had, and then they realize how important those of us that are in that position are to people. It was he who came after me. People, when I got into the diaconate, people said, "You didn't ask to be a deacon?" I said, "Are you kidding?" I said to him, "I'm a kid from Jersey City. I went to PS 3523 Dickinson High School, and if it wasn't that one of my brothers who would get me to go to church, I was not interested in church." I said, then I met my wife, God bless and thankful for her in her faith. It was a great influence on me to come into the church. And you need someone. Don't ever say, I won't talk to him, I won't ask him or her. Talk about how wonderful you'd be in the life in the church. My life in the church has just been wonderful. You always think you have everything. And then becoming a deacon was even more than that. I just had the most wonderful people in the world. And my vocation as a deacon here and in Florida. And I told Father Bonsack that. I said, I meant it. I did not want to be a deacon. But now I probably have a lot of hurt because age and physical and changing because of family situations. I haven't been participating, but I sit here and yearn to want to go to Mass, but I understand that I'm at risk just going to church today, and I don't want
so many others.
Today. It was wonderful. It is wonderful. I thank the people for responding so much and so well. That's why I talked about our parish, and you don't know the St. Joseph Parish was just like St. Leo's. It was there. People were wonderful, and they responded to faith. There was no, you're just a deacon. I mean, I've heard all the stories that people have gone through. I've been blessed in these two parishes that I haven't had that attitude, especially like from the guys. We hang around with, we play golf together and softball and this, and you're going to preach to me, and you got to. They were so supportive, and the Holy Spirit has been with us and our family and myself, and I just say bless the deacons. They do a wonderful job. There's a big job for it to be done. We don't want to take anybody's job away, and I think that's all in the past. People thought, they're going to be, mini priests and all. It had nothing to do with a priest. I didn't want to be deacon. I sure don't want to be a priest. I hope Eileen wouldn't want me to be one either. But it's something that I reluctantly entered into, and I love it. I thank God every day of my life for that opportunity to meet people, to hopefully influence and touch them with the word of Jesus and follow Jesus. It's so rewarding, so wonderful. I mean, and I thank you.
Parishes are communities of faith and communities of people. They're truly part of the universal church as a whole, but they also have histories and personalities all their own. Deacon Bob has shared some of his insights into what it was like here at St. Leo's in the aftermath of the council, and in a way, given us many things to think about when future needs and events require other changes and reforms. When we come back next time, we'll discuss an extremely vital document from the Council regarding the role of ordinary women and men like you and me, the laity, in the greater life of the Church. I hope you'll join us again as we look at the decree on the apostolate of lay people. Until then, stay safe, be well, and God bless.